Why is it not going? Why do you do What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show on a, we were talking beforehand, this is a meaty episode with some topics here that not like a ton of topics, but the topics we have, I do believe are going to be some very interesting discussions because, you know, just not much has been happening in theme parks really the last few days. I don't know if you guys noticed. I was really trying to figure out, I think we're going to talk about Buc-ee's locations opening up. That could be the whole conversation. But we'll see.
Very light. And do I have the same chair as Wizard? No.
Oh, almost.
It's close.
Wait, yes, you actually do. It says
yep. You guys do have the same chair.
My thing's just a little higher up.
There we
go.
So
I have a similar brand. I colored in this thing. You'll notice because it kept making me look like I had elf ears in videos.
You put it on your
out and I was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." So I was like,
I did hear that all the chairs come from the same factory and they're just labeled differently.
I'm sure they do. Oh, I have no doubt that probably most of our stuff comes from the exact same place. So no matter what it is anymore. But all right. So the topic we have we're going to talk about Comcast spinning off the theme parks, entertainment stuff into its own business, which I was telling Vash beforehand. I don't know. I really haven't watched other people's content too much on this. I really don't know where I stand on this. I don't know if I'm in left field or if everybody else is along the same lines as me. So that's going to be interesting. Then we'll talk about the Disney transportation restrictions have gone into place. There could be more of those coming. Is there more of will this grow? I suppose is going to be the question there. And then we'll probably get to talking about the animatronics at Disneyland, because that is something that has been on the Disneylanders' minds, and maybe some future animatronics coming as well. And then if we get through all those, we'll see. We do have some hard outs. So we're going to trying to keep this at 2 hours. So we'll see how we do on this. But before we get to anything else, we'll say hey to the chat. We got Freedom Seeker in here. We got TJ. I'm going to mess this up. Magnify, I think. I probably got that wrong. We got Remy D. We got Theme Park Conductor. What's up, Conductor? We got Juliet. And Juliet actually dropped a $2 sterling pound morning Vash Sky Skyliners and Skywatchers. Thank you, Juliet. I always know every time she's there, so she's always consistent. We got Brandon Lego going to Disney, or let's see, Brandon Lego Uni Disvan. I think I got that right. But everybody in the chat, thank you guys for being here. And let me introduce the panel here before we get into our topics. As always, we have Mr. Orange Girl 55 here. Thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you out here on the interwebs?
Yeah, a great panel today. We got Vash, Jared, Mr. Seymour Duck, Wizard. It's gonna be a great conversation. We have a lot to discuss today, a lot of Universal stuff. But you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking a lot of the same stuff these gentlemen talk about. Seymour is on my show all the time. I think I've had 5 episodes with Seymour this week in 5 days. so
you held the duck in a photo. I'm just saying. The rumor has it I showed a very sensitive side of myself taking care of woodland creatures.
There we go. But yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55. You can find me on X and Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. And everybody's stuff will be in so this is simulcast, but everybody's stuff will be in the description on my end if you're watching from my channel. So you can go check out everybody's channels here. But we're also joining Mr. Vash Sky from the Vash Sky ParkCast. Thank you for being here, Vash. And where can everybody find you?
Everybody can find me at Vash Sky on X and the Vash Sky ParkCast on YouTube. We got a crazy episode coming out with Jonas J. Campbell talking about some of this Comcast stuff as well. A little bit more oriented towards the telecommunications side, but it certainly has implications for theme parks. Definitely check it out. It's going to be probably tomorrow at 5 a.m. my time, 8 p.m., 8 a.m. Eastern, somewhere around there. So definitely check that out if you want to go ahead and get more of the rundown on all of these crazy stories and more. Thank you.
Absolutely. If I did a stream at 5 a.m. my time, that would be a rough one. I don't even think I would be audible. I wouldn't even remember the stream after it happened. I would just
This is why it's a video, not a stream. But
okay.
Sometimes you have to do it because
true.
of earnings calls. Because earnings calls, they go so early nowadays.
That's a good point. I thought you meant you were live streaming. I was like, man, me at 5 a.m. on a live stream. I might do it one of these days to see what the train wreck is like, but I don't think that would go over well for me. But we will see on that front one day. But we're also joined by Mr. Seymour Duck coming in from the Duck Pond. I think he flew in. So Seymour, how you doing? And where can everybody find you?
Hello. I'm doing amazing, and I just want to say, intro on point. It's making me excited for actually GTA coming out.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I am as well. I'm actually pretty looking forward to that game.
No, November, right, Seymour?
Yes, hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully there's no delays.
At this point, they have to release it because they've already got pre-orders going. If they push it back further, I mean, they might, but it's going to make all the money in the world. I think that game.
Yes.
But yes, you can find me on X at Mr. Seymour Duck and also at Orange Grove 55 at the Duck Pond.
There he is.
Absolutely, and like OG said, he's on Orange Grove 55 all the time. I've been on the Duck Pond a few times. Always a good time there. Has really good intros. It's like a legitimate late night show over there. So go check that out. Of course, on Orange Grove 55, and of course we're joining Mr. Permit himself, the permit seeker. We got to do something permit. Yeah, is Mr. Theme Park Wizard. Wizard, thanks for being here. Where can they find you out here on the never fighting, always getting along internets?
You can find me fighting with people about City Walk security on X. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, where people have a better stance on that topic, and YouTube, of course. I just released everything you need to know about Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift, including some never before heard details, because from the people that wrote it themselves. That video is out now. And subscribe, check me out. I'm here every week.
There we go. Like I said, everybody's stuff will be in the description on my end. Go check out all their channels. Really good content. And we're gonna dive right in because we got some meaty topics here that we're gonna try and give some perspective on and talk about here. So the first one, just a little bit of news here it just randomly popped up on a Monday that Comcast says that they're spinning off NBC Universal, including the theme park division. So we'll get into the nitty gritty of it, but essentially they are spinning off the theme parks, Peacock, NBC, the studios, Sky. Is there another one in there? I'm forgetting, guys. I think that was most of it.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. So they're spinning this off into a new company, and Comcast is going to retain 19.9% stake in this company. It is a tax-free setup. They're going to have, like I said, they're going to be a publicly traded company. They're going to have their own shares. I believe they said Comcast shareholders are going to get shares of this new spinoff company. And this will be the second spinoff they've done because they did the Versant spinoff earlier. I think they did it earlier this year where they spun off some properties in there. But obviously the big thing here is the fact that the theme parks are spinning out from underneath Comcast. And I think Comcast has been great for Universal Parks. I think they have gave them stability, funding for a lot of the things they've been doing. But apparently now it might be graduating up to its own thing here. So I guess we'll just start here. What is your guys' take on this? Do you think it's a good move, or do you think this is something else here going on other than just getting out from underneath Comcast?
I think it could potentially be a good move. I think it could also be potentially a bad move. Because here's the thing. They're spinning it off, right? So it's its own thing. So it's a smaller company now. I don't think they're going to sell it immediately, right? I mean, obviously they have I think Brian Roberts has a stake, or Comcast has a stake in it, like you were saying, Jared, for at least a year.
I think it's 2 years. They're going to, maybe a year at least, but I thought I saw maybe 1 or 2 years, but yeah, you're right.
1 or 2 years. So I think it's safe for the short term. I don't think they're going to sell it immediately. So that it's safe. Long term, I don't know though. See, here's the thing. Warner Brothers back in 2022, Zaslav was saying, we have no interest in selling Warner Brothers. And then until he was interested in selling Warner Brothers. So what these executives say and what the long-term game isn't always, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to reveal all their cards immediately. So it worries me because I do think Universal has a great product. I think it's had a lot of momentum. It really has under Comcast. Seymour and I did a video yesterday about this, and it was kind of like, I think Seymour, and I'll let you elaborate on it, but he brought up a great point where it's like, why didn't they do all of this when they were spinning off the cable stuff? Like, why now? Like, what's changed with Comcast internally where they feel now they need to do this now when they could have done it with everything back then with the cable stuff? So I'm not really sure what to make of that. And again, it could turn out great. Look, an independent company away from all this cable and internet, telecom drama could ultimately be a good thing. I'm optimistic, but at the same time, it might not be. You might have some company swoop in and see that, Universal is a smaller company now and they don't have as much debt, and it's more prime for a buyout. So I think it's kind of early to kind of say whether it's a positive or negative. I think right now I'm just going to kind of cross my fingers and hope that they do stay independent, and hope that maybe they go into buy mode and buy some stuff and sort of secure itself as an independent company. Because I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried about it. I think that's a huge possibility here. I really do. But what say you guys?
I think it's possible, but I don't think this is the reason for the spinoff. I guess that's a delineating thing there. It doesn't mean that a couple years from now that somebody may come in and want to purchase it or anything of that, or some of these assets, anything like that. I think the way in which this is being spun off, it's much more complicated. If you wanted to just sell these properties, there are much easier, cheaper, cleaner ways to do it. You would just do a private sale or something along those lines. So it doesn't mean that can't happen. I don't think that's the goal of this. And also, I think Mike Cavanaugh being the CEO, and that's something I forgot to mention. Mike Cavanaugh is the CEO of this new spinoff, and then Brian Roberts isn't even the CEO of Comcast anymore. It is their CFO. I personally think if anything's going to be bought, it's going to be Comcast. I think that's maybe what this move is. A lot of the investors are looking at Charter as a potential merge with them because they're in the same market. And obviously, you have.
Okay, we lost. I think we lost
him.
We lost him.
I wanted to piggyback off
And
that
my
because I was
internet
like,
is going in and out.
Oh, is he back?
Am I there still?
he's back.
Is he back?
Apparently, my internet is glitching in and out on me. I apologize.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
You, but I don't see you. I mean, I see a frozen face.
You are static
Okay,
at the moment right
I'm
there.
gonna turn my camera off for a moment and see if that fixes it. And
There you go. We can hear you okay, but we just
sorry. Give me let me see if this fixed. Okay,
no problem.
Yeah, everything. Oh, my end's glitching out. I may have to go mess with my router here in a moment. Okay, let me say. I'll kick it to you guys. All I was gonna say is I don't think that's the main goal of this. I think if you look at the Comcast stock over the past few years, it's been just going down and down and down. Yeah. The parks and the other things have been line items under the Comcast umbrella. So potentially this is a way, and I've heard some people even theorize that, funding for the parks eventually could actually be easier under this new setup like this. But obviously I do think it's a little early to know, but potentially it's a risky thing because if it goes well, this could work great for them. They could really get the benefit of this growth period of the parks that I think much more than they would have under Comcast. But obviously things go the other way. Then you start getting into kind of dangerous territory about then somebody could come in and really do a hostile buyout or something like that. So it is risky, but I think it's a gamble that they're betting that the prior investments they have made in the parks are going to start really paying off, I think, this next decade. And I think that's a lot of this move, in my opinion, at least. But what kick to everybody else, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say, because when I first heard the news on Monday or saw it, I was like, oh, I got a little scared. But then as I read people's theories and ideas and read more articles, I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I was on kind of Jared's wavelength, like maybe it's Comcast that wants to merge with Charter or something totally not theme park related, so they're trying to make themselves smaller. And I'm like, okay, that could be okay. And then I still thought of NBC Universal as its own independent company. And I do worry also about them, getting swooped up via hostile takeover, just getting sold or whatever. Maybe not now, but down the line, because I'd hate for someone like Blackstone to, you know, swoop them up again, because the parks were so horrible under that private equity or company firm. But I think this one is a little bit better, at least initially, because the parks are much stronger, and the parks like now would be like Disney, kind of where the parks are like the number one money maker, right? So maybe funding will be easier to come via this new company to fund more stuff in the parks, even if it's not massive big expansions like new theme parks, but maybe some new lands. And maybe because the parks will be number one in this new company, maybe they won't have any more, like maybe won't suffer from any cuts or anything. And maybe there'll be a full focus. So maybe they can go all in on theme parks. So when I think about it like that, I'm like, oh, maybe it's a positive. So like OG said, just kind of wait and see. But I'm leaning towards neutral, but more positive side after spending 48 hours thinking about it. What about you, Vash?
Yeah, this is a really, really interesting development right here. Some people in Wall Street have been actually championing this move for a while now, because it doesn't necessarily make sense for a telecommunications company to be in media, especially as the paradigm between cable and, well, content has changed, right? And especially has changed in the last 10 years, as all of our channels have detailed in some way or another. So the prospect of separating these two businesses out might be the most appropriate thing, but I think I do agree with you, Wizard, and you as well, Jared. This relationship of NBC Universal benefiting from Comcast has been extraordinary. I mean, we've seen some fantastic growth in the theme park sector, there's no question about it. Also, great growth in the entertainment sector for NBC Universal. So they've made a lot of smart investments and so forth, moved around some things to really, put them in a prime position to be both profitable and successful. The only problem, looking at it from my vantage point is, it's like, okay, well, I think last quarter, I think that was Q1 fiscal year 2026 for Comcast. I believe they pulled in about $30 billion worth of revenue right there, just shy of $8 billion EBITDA, which is their profit calculation right there. And I look at all of that revenue, I look at all of that money, and I'm like, well, guys, if you sub out, the theme parks and, maybe some media entities and so forth, you're looking at maybe a little over $1 billion EBITDA for that new enterprise in NBC Universal. I just don't know where that capital necessarily comes from in order to go forward with a Universal UK, for example, or I don't know. I mean, when you look at the cost of something like Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, that was well over $300 million. What happens there when that cash flow is cut off when you are separated out from this organization, that being Comcast? I'm not entirely sure. Now, as far as why this might actually be happening, I think, Brian Roberts and Mike Kavanaugh, they both said, no, absolutely not. Acquisitions, mergers, no, of course not, guys. You just file that to the side. But I do think they are making themselves more attractive on both ends, right? Like Charter Spectrum, for example, for Comcast, and for NBC Universal. I kind of look at it and I go, how many players are left to even acquire NBC Universal as it currently stands? Not many. Maybe we actually go a little bit towards the tech side of things to really get a player potentially. And I think this is, over the next year, going to be Comcast, NBC Universal, trying to feel out the market right there. I think Matt Bellany from Puck made a very interesting point in that Mike Kavanaugh doesn't have the most robust history or portfolio when it comes to managing a media entity like this, but he's got a lot of history with transactions, apparently. So I think they're still heading down that route. They're just not necessarily saying it out loud.
What about you, Seymour? What are your thoughts on this?
I agree with the Vash, actually, with a lot of the points that he mentioned. I do have concerns with the cash flows that are coming in as a separate company. Mm-hmm. When you look at the numbers, right? I was looking at the numbers for Comcast as a separate company compared to NBC Universal. And like just the last quarter, 331 million adjusted EBITDA is not a lot. And you look at the year or 2025, you have to take out Versant as well because that was also spun off, and they didn't make a lot. That's just over 770 million adjusted EBITDA. Disney Plus makes more profits than that, and that comparison has me concerns that how are they going to sustain themselves as its own entity? Will they have to get outside help? Will they get third parties like Paramount? How they get the Saudis coming in and funding them, but then now we're going back to like square one where they don't have full control. Then why did we spin off in the first place? And or are they going to have to add debt in, or they're going to have to do share offerings to add in new to fund the parks? And that's my biggest concern. But then Matt Bellani also said, I was reading a blog that he said that when you announce a spinoff like this, it signals other companies coming in and be like, we're not afraid to spin off these areas of these companies, and you have 2 years now to buy us and bid us. Before that, we spin them off, and then once you spin off, you don't have that. You have 2 years, right? So, and you can't buy these companies after 2 years, and that's what happened with Warner Brothers when they announced a spinoff. They're like, well, once we spin off, you can't buy us for 2 years. Paramount came in and started bidding, and then everyone else started bidding, and that could be the similar situation here. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just speculating, but then there's a reason, because back in January, if I'm not mistaken, Mike Cavanaugh said that NBC Universal was stronger by not separating. They're stronger by not being a smaller standalone entity. And now he's saying that we can be a standalone entity and it's stronger by itself. They say a lot of things. I think there's a lot of PR fluff. I have concerns with the cash flows. I do believe at the end goal that Universal, NBC Universal as a standalone is better for the company. I just have concerns with the cash flows coming in, investing in the company, because a lot of the IPs, I like Universal Studios. A lot of the biggest IPs, I'm a bigger Nintendo fan than Disney, and I want to see them grow. I want to see them, there's rumors of Zelda coming in, there's rumors of Pokemon coming in, and I don't see that if they have to go right now and spin off on their own, because now they have to pick and choose their battles and what they invest in. We had Universal Kids. I don't think they're going to be making those type of parks anymore either, because they don't have the cash flow. So those are my concerns.
Yeah. Well said.
And
So,
it's
I'm not
of paramount
sure.
importance. Oh,
Go ahead.
No, I said it's
Well, I was
of
just gonna
paramount
say-
importance because scale is everything. But go ahead, Jared.
I'm on a massive delay. After I say my bid, I'm gonna reset my setup here and see if I can get this fixed.
Oh,
Sorry.
poor internet sucks.
I was just gonna say, we don't know. Like, there's a lot of unknowns with this completely, and I think when you look at that, part of me wondered, they're going to go through this period where they may not be able to make investments, and I saw some analysts talking about how this would eventually free them up to have more flexibility to get more capital for funding and things eventually, but they're going to go through this period of 1 to 2 years where they're really not going to be able to do too much. But part of me wonders if that.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, man.
Pardon
We
me,
lost
I
him.
wonders what he's gonna say next.
We lost
Well,
him. He'll be back. Go ahead, Vash.
To go off of Jared's point, though, I mean, I had heard
coincides
that
with, and I will be right.
I had heard that Comcast. Oh man, the business stuff. Hey, yeah, YouTube does not want us to talk about the business stuff. No, but I had heard similar commentary, right, where Comcast might be, looking for, I don't know, mergers and acquisitions after like a 2-year period or so like 2028, and maybe after that, NBC Universal can start courting in 2029. So one of the theories is, okay, split off now so as to kind of activate that bidding process in a very similar way that Warner Brothers Discovery, just did, as Seymour just beautifully pointed out right there. Get that started now, and hopefully, somebody comes in and hey, maybe they want all of it, maybe they want some of it, and so forth, and you can go ahead and start courting as soon as possible. But I see, here's the thing about NBC Universal and everything like that. How does NBC Universal stand alone when scale is king? The reason why we've had so much consolidation is because, everybody's looking to gather up all of these kind of assets in order to stand alone when it comes to maybe having your own streaming service, having your own studio, your content pipeline, etc. And so I look at this and I go, how can necessarily NBC Universal compete with Peacock? I'm just not sure. Now, I did see Variety suggesting that NBC Universal's assets like IP, all of that, maybe not as wanted perhaps as Warner Bros. Discovery, but I don't know. I mean, if I'm a Netflix, I think all that stuff is really, really good. Now, in terms of Sky and all that, and actually getting into some of those other businesses, right, with NBC Universal, maybe perhaps they don't want to, but a large majority of that is going with Comcast, at least on the telecommunications end, which might be problematic from a regulatory standpoint. If Comcast is packaged together with NBC Universal going somewhere, so there's a lot of stuff playing out here. People ask why now when it comes to Versant versus NBC Universal. I think they were just trying to get maybe a little bit of a boost in the stock, and it just kept going down. So now it's like, okay, now we have to cut even more. And I do wonder if Versant is packaged again, perhaps with NBC Universal down the line, because it's just it doesn't necessarily make sense for those to be separated out in this way either. I'm not sure. It seems closer to core than Brian Roberts was suggesting back when it was with Comcast. So a lot of moving parts here, a lot of moving entities for sure.
You made an interesting tweet, I think it was yesterday, Vash, where you were saying you kind of put out there the possibility of like Netflix maybe acquiring Universal, right? And obviously that wouldn't happen immediately because there's going to be a year or two at least. But that's interesting, right? Because Netflix had desire to to acquire WB, and that fell through, obviously.
Right.
Would they maybe get into the Universal game? I mean, Universal has a decent. Go ahead, Wizard.
I didn't say it to kind of pick about what you said. Netflix, if they were to do it, keep in mind they have a pretty good relationship with the Universal already, with the Halloween Horror Nights, K-pop Demon Hunters merches in the parks already. So they already have some sort of relationship with them. So I wouldn't be too surprised.
Well, and maybe Apple. We can't write them off either. I mean, they have their Apple studios and so forth, but if you have to shut down one studio, move your assets to another, I don't know. I think that's can be very well, maybe easily facilitated. But look, Netflix was desperate for Warner Brothers Discovery, and now they might be acquiring like Lionsgate or something. At least that's the rumor there. Look. Listen, NBC Universal, I think that could be packaged well, and this is the thing that Disney always says that Netflix doesn't have, right? Oh, we can leverage our brands through our theme parks, through our merchandising, through our consumer products division. We have all of these different outlets. Well, NBC Universal's got a lot of them too. So if you necessarily do want to jump into that game, you can jump in ground running. But that's just me.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I think it was about a year and a half ago, Comcast set up this co-CEO structure, right, with Brian Roberts and Mike Cavanaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Was that laying the groundwork for this, essentially, or is it coincidental? I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think?
I'm going to try this again. I think maybe I'm good. If I'm not, I'm going to throw my computer through a window. I think I read an article where they said when Comcast was trying to bid for WB, that this is where this idea came from, was what if we spun off these parks separately? And I didn't get to read the whole article, but they did say that this idea stemmed from all of that, which I found kind of interesting because a lot of us were rooting for Comcast to get WB for the theme parks mostly. My whole thing is, I'm not saying any of that's wrong. I think from a business standpoint, those arguments make a lot of sense. My thinking here is, why would you want to sell now when you're just now going to start reaping the benefits really of all of these investments that have been made over the past 10 years? And you just had $1 billion quarter in revenue with Epic coming online. To me, and I think you guys maybe would agree, Universal's future is looking pretty good in terms of the direction they're going, what they're doing with the parks. They even said Peacock was almost profitable in the last earnings report, which I found very interesting because Peacock doesn't have near the subscribers everybody else does.
Yeah.
So
I think it does very well in sports, though.
It is. A lot of it is sports, undoubtedly. But like if Peacock doesn't drag this new entity down, I don't know. I'm not saying it won't happen, but I'm just thinking, like, why would they want to do that now of all times? To
Well-
sell it whenever it would be like having a business where you just came off your biggest quarter and you're like, all right, I'm out. Like when you probably have future quarters that will be bigger.
Well, the way I kind of see it, and I'm not saying this is what they're going to do, but like the way I kind of see it is kind of like flipping a house, right? When you buy a house to flip it, you go in there and you put new carpet in, you put new tile in, new appliances, new kitchen sink. You make it better, so your asking price can be higher when you do want to sell it.
But what would you do with Comcast? Because Comcast is just dying. Like that's the perspective on where I'm at on it. Is like I get that. I'm not saying you're wrong about that, but like, what are your alternative is just sticking with Comcast, which is essentially just a sinking ship at this point.
Go ahead, Seymour.
I actually heard a rumor. A few analysts were talking about it. How they were actually scared of SpaceX, and SpaceX could actually ruin the business for Comcast.
Right.
And one of the reasons to spin off is to ensure that they can have a future. I don't know if they're going to put the debt with NBCU. I don't know how that debt structure is going to work out, but there are some concerns, and they don't want that to be affecting NBC Universal. But also, I heard that they want to like expedite the growth within Comcast and focus on data centers as well, because they're scared of SpaceX coming in. But if they have data centers, they can work with a lot of the AI companies that they're needing these data centers to work, because it's been very expensive. And that's one way that they could do for the spinoff. And also I heard that if they did merge with Charter, that would be part of the process as well, that they would do the data centers and make a lot of money off of that. I don't know if that would work, but there is big concerns that SpaceX will come in and basically destroy them.
I've heard Starlink might be of consideration there, as Seymour Duck pointed out, and also to Amazon, because obviously they're sending satellites into space as well. So you do have some additional competition, right, and additional mediums taking root. And so it's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and get while the getting's good while we still have valuation, rather than perhaps later. And we know that, I think Bellany pointed out in his article right there, stocks been down, I think, 30% since last year right there. Like, that's not fantastic, right? This is not a ship that is correcting itself. So I think on the Comcast side, it was maybe they have no choice. They have to get in bed with a Charter or Spectrum and become even bigger. Or as Seymour Duck pointed out right there, let's go ahead and get into maybe perhaps data centers. That is a very interesting prospect right there. And, does it necessarily make sense to have a media and entertainment company with you? Maybe perhaps not. Maybe for regulatory issues involving that, let's go ahead and separate it out now, court buyers for this side of the business, and then go forward. Apparently, Brian Roberts saying he's going to be involved in both ends of the business. That's a very interesting prospect as well.
Well, I think them keeping 19, and correct me if I'm wrong, and Seymour, you may know this or anybody else, but them keeping 19.9% stake in this, is that a way to protect the spinoff from a hostile takeover, essentially? Because they still have a stake in this company, and maybe that is a funding arm of it as well. Is that something?
I will have to check the numbers, because I know that Brian Roberts had 100% of Class B shares, which gave him 1/3 of all rights within Comcast, voting rights. So I would need to know what type of shares are they getting it, from that 19%. But yeah, the Roberts family, they own like 1/3 of all the voting rights. So if that's what's going to happen going forward, then yeah, they would have control with the voting rights and ensuring that future prospects with NBC Universal.
But doesn't that rest on the assumption that Brian Roberts doesn't want to sell it? Like, what if he does, and then now he owns 19%?
Well, then, that would just be up to the discretion of the shareholder at that point. I mean, the assumption is that they're not going to looking to sell this. I mean, my whole thing, I'm not saying you guys are wrong at all. My thing is, if the goal was to sell these things, there are just easier ways to do it that are cheaper as well. Now, it doesn't mean it won't happen. And look at Paramount buying Warner Brothers. You can have somebody come and be like, we'll pay whatever penalties are there to do this. But I also think, to play devil's advocate, for somebody looking to buy this new setup here, theme parks are a big beast to even deal with and have part of your company. If you don't understand that, It could be a crazy crash and burn because they're expensive, and somebody would come in here and not have the experience. I'm not saying it can't happen. I mean, obviously Comcast did it when they bought Universal Studios, but it's not, in my eyes, it's not as easy as buying a movie studio. It's not as easy as some of these other business verticals you have. I think theme parks are very different, but to me, the momentum that the parks have, I would just find it very odd that they would just be looking at this at this point right now to be like, okay, now it's time to get rid of this. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying it could happen tomorrow, but in my mind, I just think that's a weird place to operate from.
I'll also say the theme parks themselves didn't contribute to the bottom line quarter over quarter that much for Comcast, and that's why they might feel like, you know, it's okay to, you know, sideline this part of the business or separate this out, because it's not like Disney where, I mean, you could have as many as maybe 2/3 of all the profit from the entire company actually coming from theme parks. That is just simply not true when it comes to Comcast. Like I was saying before, I mean, I think what, 500 million in adjusted EBITDA from the theme parks versus what, 7 billion. I mean, it's just it's like the French fry when it comes to the meal, you know. Right. And they would mention it a little bit on their earnings calls, but they're definitely a telecommunications business, so it's kind of like, okay, let's go ahead and get, you know, lean and mean and put ourselves out there, and if anybody wants us as a complete package deal, they can have us. If not, it's more attractive that these are separate entities, and from a regulatory standpoint, that might be the motivating factor right there. I agree with you, Jared. It's like, man, you invested a whole heck of a lot in theme parks, doing some really, really great work there, taking some risks, you know, going to some different places. Apparently, Alex Sherman from CNBC is saying that this came on very quickly, which is also a little bit odd. You'd think that they would have a long-term strategy here that they were working towards. So it's all kind of analogous and weird right now.
Well, and the other thing too, that, and I could be mistaken, and correct me on the panel or in the chat if I am wrong, Brian Roberts, Comcast is a family company, right? This is his.
Yes, I didn't know that either, but they are, yeah.
Yeah, his grandpappy. It goes way back, you know.
My grandpappy started cable.
My great grandpappy started Comcast, you know. But like,
we were laying fiber down there back in the good old days. No.
Yeah, you know,
cable in them there hills is what we found.
Well, and that's the thing that kind of worries me a little bit too. Here is because he's got a lot of skin in the game for the Comcast portion of this. So is he looking out more for Comcast and its survival because it is the family business, and not putting as much thought into the Universal end because that's not the family business? Like, for example, people say, okay, they're spinning it off because Comcast wants to merge with Charter. But like, okay, that's fine. But what happened to Universal though? And is Brian, as he runs his family company, is he putting more? Is more of his concern with Comcast staying afloat because it is that family business, then what happens to Universal ultimately? That worries me as well, you know. And the thing is too, I don't mean to seem, I don't want to sound like doom and gloom, but because I do not want Universal to get bought out. I want them to stay the way they are. I just feel like this whole thing brings a huge amount of uncertainty to the equation where there wasn't any a week ago. Like they were moving, like the momentum was there and they were crushing it. We've done so many videos on that. This brings in like a lot of question marks, and it becomes almost like a WB thing now where it's like, you're seeing all these articles. Who's going to buy Comcast? What's going to happen? You know what I'm saying? Now the conversation is completely different than it was a couple weeks or a month or 6 months ago. You know what I'm saying?
But maybe it has to be. Maybe it has to be. Maybe you're right. Maybe they are working out for the business, and you got to get out while the getting's good. Go ahead, Jared.
Or it could be, I mean, similarly. So if you look at this in the stake that they have in this new spinoff, what if it's Comcast setting up to purchase someone? Now, I'm not saying I don't know the financials behind that, but what if it is more of a you merge with somebody else and the thinking is Brian Roberts and his ilk are still in control of this, and then that stake in the NBC Universal business is really not damaged by it. But I think one way or the other, it does seem like you separate these out. I think a lot of people are saying that obviously because it's smaller, NBC Universal would be the prime candidate, but I just think it looks more like, given what we've seen, and mind you, maybe the data centers are a plan they have and things like that, but as it stands right now, to me, Comcast seems like the thing. You've got a ship taken on water. At some point, you got to get off of the thing, and I feel like that's where you're at now with it.
We got to also bring up the fact that Comcast is holding on to about $100 billion worth of debt. That's the other thing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tremendous download right there. So that's the other thing too. That's part of this. Even if they were looking to buy somebody, nobody really put him in serious contention when it came to the Warner Brothers Discovery thing because they had such a debt load. And yeah, there were conversations that they were getting Middle East funding to try to augment that in some way. But that's really what they're going to need in order to buy anybody because I just don't know if you can take on much more debt than what they have now. And I don't know what their market cap looks like. I had heard it was like $40 billion, but that might have been some time ago. I don't know if Comcast is even in a position to buy, which is maybe potentially why they're splitting off and maybe looking for a merger rather than an acquisition at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in their defense, I suppose $100 billion of debt would get them maybe 3/4 of Warner Brothers is what that was paid for. So I mean, we wouldn't get them Warner Brothers at this point, which puts the Paramount thing into even bigger context of like, how is that ever going to work out? But yeah, I mean, I think obviously nobody has the answer here outside of Brian Roberts and Mike Kavanaugh. And they're not saying, at least, well, they're saying stuff. We just don't know if they're being totally truthful about this. I think now OG will point to this. I always felt when they made Kavanaugh co-CEO, I think Disney was sniffing around talking to Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
I had that feeling. And because out of the blue, it was like Mike Kavanaugh's co-CEO. And you're like, why is that? And it was right in the middle of, the Disney search. We do know they reached out to other people. Mm-hmm. So I know part of me, I know Kavanaugh's background is more, he doesn't really have the experience in running this stuff, but he has been involved. I mean, just because you don't have the experience doesn't mean, after all this time, he may have a really good understanding of that end of the business. But to me, putting Kavanaugh here, it could signal you're looking to sell, but it also could signal that this company is what we think the future is. Mike Kavanaugh is the future because I think they have been molding him for the CEO role. Mm-hmm. And maybe that leads more to thinking that this is more of a long-term play. And this is something people have theorized with Disney before. Like if you spun you got rid of ESPN, you kind of made it leaner and meaner, you might be more focused on the theme parks. And I think if this is a spinoff for the future of theme parks and that end of the business, you could see more of a focus thing because now you don't have the Comcast executives that are more concerned with the other parts of the business. Now you just are concerned specifically with theme parks, Peacock, and the movies, but obviously the other side is there. So which one is it? I think part of it is, and OG, you probably feel the same way. I'm rooting for them not to sell. I don't want to see Universal sell for what they've been doing, but maybe my bias is playing a role in this. I just have a hard time thinking that they've done all this work to eat into all this market share, spend all this money to just be like, okay, you reap the rewards. Like, I don't know. That seemed wild to me.
Yeah, it does seem wild. I mean, and that's the thing. We don't know the internals, and it might not be their first option. Maybe they have to, because of the Comcast stuff, and I really hope that isn't the case because it would be really sad for Universal. I think I hope that there is a long-term plan here and it works out to Universal's benefit. Because like I said, we all agree. I mean, they've been doing some great stuff. They have a lot of momentum behind them right now. And it would suck to have that stall out over some stupid, telecom drama.
Well, Wizard, let me ask you, Wizard, when it comes to the cash flow situation, because I think Seymour and I think we're in pretty good agreement with that, and obviously there are concerns amongst all the panelists here. When it comes to the short-term outlook for NBC Universal and its investments in the theme park space, as we're theme parking around here. Do you think that they just go forward with what's kind of approved and what's actually being constructed, like Fast and Furious over at Universal Orlando, for example, or maybe Islands of Adventure, right, with its Lost Continent replacement? Do they go forward with that, and then everything that hasn't necessarily, broken ground yet, they don't? Or what does that look like in the next 2 years as this all kind of plays out, assuming that nobody comes in, swoops in, and buys it all together?
I feel like everything that has a permit and is under construction will go forward, only because they do seem to be, piling ahead with all that stuff. So I feel like everything has a permit and approved will go forward. Even the hotel over here, I feel like it will keep going forward. But things beyond that, if they have anything beyond that I'm not sure about.
Yeah,
well, they might have already. My thinking was they already might have been planning on not having a lot of investments for a bit after this round of stuff they're doing now. So it could be something they coincide with that was just naturally going to, because they're not going to spend this much money in perpetuity every single year. At some point, they're going to be like, we got to take a year or two here to chill. So maybe it could coincide with that. Now, I did reach out to a few people at Universal. Have you heard anything? Is anything changing? Anything put on pause? And they all said, like 3 different people said, like nothing, like they haven't been told anything different. They're still working on the things they're working on. So
in fact, actually to Vash's point or question, I think actually maybe they won't stop, well, at least for now, because I reached out also to someone, and he's a good buddy of mine in Orlando, and he literally, was it today? No, Monday, whenever this news broke, he was actually very excited. He was very optimistic and very excited about it, and said as of today they have several more hotels planned in development, ready to get off the ground. So at least as of 2 days ago, even after the news broke, they're still wanting to build more stuff after this round, at least hotel wise.
Well, that's good news. Yeah, that's really, really good news. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't affect anything in a negative way. Hopefully they can continue the momentum they built upon. And hey, you know what? Maybe this new company will acquire something and not get acquired. Maybe Universal will get in there and
wouldn't it be hilarious? I don't even know if it's possible if they acquired like Sony Studios, just the movie studio, and then they have access to be the owners of Spider-Man. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, that would be funny. That would be funny. Well, here's the other thing too: is there's talk. Seymour and I, we've talked about this a few times, right? With WB and Paramount, they might have to sell some of the children's programming, like Cartoon Network and stuff. I mean, maybe
Nickelodeon.
Grab Nickelodeon. If this new company wants to grab Nick or wants to grab Cartoon Network or something, that would be huge for them, both for streaming and for their theme park. So maybe they'll go that route and kind of bulk up a little bit, acquire some stuff. Maybe they'll do that. We'll see.
Heck, maybe they can acquire Lionsgate.
Right, exactly.
I do want to make a point because a few people were talking about T-Mobile, and it just reminded me. And I don't want to get too political, but midterms are coming up, and if you wanted to do mergers after a spinoff or a company come in and buy you out, now would be the perfect time because the current administration are very, they're not against that. As you can see, that Paramount and Warner Brothers got approval from the U.S. real quickly, faster than I expected. And it reminded me because they mentioned T-Mobile. AT&T tried to buy T-Mobile at the Obama administration. That did not happen. But then when Donald Trump came by, it was approved for T-Mobile to buy Sprint. So now if you wanted to, merge whatever side, right? If it's Charter, Comcast, or NBC Universal getting bought out, maybe they're even buying a company out, you will get a better approval rate before the midterms happen.
That's a great point, right
Possibly,
there.
but the only caveat to that is I think Trump hates Roberts. From what I have heard,
that's what we're hearing, but maybe he, got a little cachet when spinning off for his son. It's possible, right? Oh, you don't like MS now? There you go.
Yeah, I saw an article. They were like, that would make sense, except for the fact that they were saying that apparently Trump does not like Robert. So I don't know if that would play a role in that or not. But and also to your point, I think I also saw the rumor where SpaceX or Elon might buy T-Mobile because apparently Elon's moving into the telecom space, which maybe points to the fact of Comcast being more issues because I think SpaceX continues to evolve as a company. I don't know. It's all very interesting. Like, I really hope that all this is just to make this more focused and leaner, and we keep getting great stuff in the theme parks. I think if it doesn't mean that somebody couldn't come in and take over Universal and continue this momentum, but it would be kind of sad to see because Universal they really struggled with lack of consistent ownership for so many years, and Comcast gave them stability, gave them funding, and look what they were able to do. So not having that be there would be kind of deja vu for this of like, oh, we've been here before, where now it's all up in the air and all this stuff. And I think, and OG, you and I have made videos on this. Yeah. I think theme parks are going to print money the next decade or two. I think as you continue with AI and online stuff, I think real world experiences are going to be continuing to be a thing people want. I think potentially Disney and Universal are set up to just make boatloads of money off of these things they're doing. So I do wonder if this is more long-term, or if this maybe, like you said, maybe they're being forced to think short-term on this. Maybe there's something we don't see about the business side where they're going to have to make a move here. But I'm leaning toward that until proven otherwise, until there's something else that comes out, I'm leaning toward that this is a move where they just removing it from underneath Comcast to be able to streamline the processes here to fuel more growth. But I will completely concede it is possible that somebody comes in and makes a move on one or both of these companies. I think that's possible.
Yeah. I think it just inserts a lot of like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Jared. It could turn out really, really good. Absolutely. I think right now it's very early. We don't know, and we're not going to know for a while, likely. And it just puts a little bit of like that uncertainty, that uneasiness in the equation that wasn't there 3 days ago.
Exactly.
That's the only issue. Right now it's kind of a scary time because there is a lot of question marks. But we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. You guys got anything else to add on this? Seymour, anybody else about this before we move on?
Ain't no business like show business.
Ain't no business like show business. That's right.
That is very true. Well, we do have some super chats to get to that one of them popped up here. So let me get these real quick. We have XVoot for a 5. Thank you, XVoot. Says, Jared, are you still going to ride the new Furious coaster at USF when it opens as promised with the super chat? Yes, I'm aware, XVoot. It is. I'm going to sabotage that construction of that coaster here soon. So,
I do want to thank Kiki and Luca for gifting an OG55 membership a while back. But thank you, Kiki and Luca. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you. That is right there. Yep, Kiki and Luca.
And Jared's a man of his word. He will definitely ride that coaster. I'm telling you, Jared, that thing, I'm considering it. I don't know, man. It looks so cool. Like I might have to just hop on once and just kind of like grit my teeth, white knuckle it for a minute and a half.
Well, hey, just get on the charger card. At least you'll have the best time there.
Yeah, I won't even spin, right?
Yeah,
Sounds like a plan.
I'm going to hire a Dom Toretto lookalike to ride with me. That's what I'll do.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then we also have $5 from Remy D. Says, do you think Kids Resort was built quickly, arguably in an unfinished state, because leadership wanted to make NBC Universal more attractive to buyers? Go ahead.
No, that was my theory a little bit, that they may have not invested so heavily into custom theming so that it could be, if they needed to back out of it, they could relatively easily. But what say you, Jared?
I just think it's way too early one way or the other. It's not even open yet. So to me, it could, I suppose. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. In my mind, I just think we don't even know what the reception of that is yet. And I think that it's a new type of park that I could see how you could have you're used to building these big, huge theme parks, and now you're trying to shoot for the middle. And I said that in the last live stream, like that's a weird place to operate from. Like it's like starting a sports team and you're like, we don't want the best players, but we don't want to be last place. It's like, it's kind of weird. It's possible, but I don't know. I feel like if you had that park really, because considering the theming in that park wouldn't be that expensive, I feel like having a more themed out park or a better, stronger park would make it more appealing to people potentially. But hey, listen, I'm not going to claim to ever have all the answers here. I just tell you what I think about things and to my understanding. But I guess it's possible. That's not where I went first with it, but who knows? We're going to go check it out in a couple of weeks and see, what that is like. But I'll be curious about that reception locally for that park for sure.
Well, all I know is if OG and I want to ride LA River the ride, we can just go down the street.
Right? Exactly. Right. We got one in our backyard. We don't need to go to Texas.
Right in the valley. Right in the studios.
On a serious note, though, I have heard that initially the kids' park tickets are selling pretty strongly, so hopefully it continues. But
I mean, they sold out of their season passes at that silver level. And now I talked to somebody that went there, that Minions ride that looks like the LA River was actually the best ride in the park, which is kind of funny.
Oh, definitely was. I feel like it's the most custom one. It actually has like elements to it, and the rest is just kind of you can find anywhere else. But yeah, if they just painted it yellow, maybe they will. Someone said more paint's coming, so just paint it something yellow. Put a mural along, it'll look 10 times better.
And like a lot of that stuff is like cheap fixes. Like a lot of the theme there is not. It's
more
not like
trees.
You don't have to build like $1 million things to make that more themed out. So to me, I think it's a it could be a miscalculation on exactly. Well, it also could just be social media as well. We'll see what the reception is and what the reaction to it is. And I guess if it goes by a year from now, 2 years from now, and nothing's happened there, I guess we can assume that this was made for, theme park side and whatever they do at the kids resort. But they do have plans for more of those. So I haven't heard any hard facts about what next thing they're looking at in terms of a region, but I do know they initially did have more plans for those. So I guess we'll find out if they announce another one. I guess that answers our question about if they're limited on funding or not. But we also have a 5 again from Magic94. Thank you, Magic. Because how would you guys rank all 3 Harry Potter parks from Universal to Epic Universe?
Magic. I've only been to the one out here in Hollywood, so it would not really be fair of me to kind of rank that. But I mean, I love the one out here. I think it's fantastic. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Does he mean lands or rides? I can rank the rides. I feel like my ride ranking would be different from my land ranking, but I'll just rank the rides, I guess. So for the rides, boy, what are they? Okay, the rides. I'm gonna put. I'll just start with number 1. Number 1 is Hagrid's. My favorite. Number 2 is I guess Forbidden Journey. No, Gringotts. I love Gringotts. 3 is Forbidden Journey. 4 is the Ministry of Magic ride, and 5.
That's your 4th, really?
Yeah, I mean it's really cool, but it's just a whole bunch of screens. But
hold on, but to put this in context, what are your thoughts on Minion Villain Con?
I love that ride.
Oh my god!
Snaps back into focus now.
I'm cross-examining the witness now, and I'm like, "Oh, Your Honor, this witness."
The Battle of the Ministry is really cool, and the ride itself is really smooth. But like Forbidden Journey has an animatronic dragon and Dementors. Like there's like already more there. I feel like than the ride itself. The queue for Battle of the Ministry is amazing, and the ride is pretty cool. But I think in terms of
credibility lost with
in terms of animatronics and stuff and the full package, I still think Forbidden Journey has it. I like the ride system more on Battle of the Ministry though. But last is Flight of the Hippogriff.
Oh yeah, well, Wizard, you're very lucky that Alan Almighty Coasters is not here to listen to your villain con.
He would have got on his scooter, and because he's only 5 minutes away from me, so he would have got on that and just came over here and taken his band fan and just kept hitting him on the head with it.
Yeah, I can do that. So I agree. I think the ride rankings are different than lands. So lands, I would probably go Hogsmeade because it's like the OG, then Diagon Alley, and then Ministry of Magic because I just don't have a connection to like Fantastic Beasts. Like,
I agree with those land rankings.
Great, it's a solid land. The scaling is amazing. There's just I don't have like a connection to that. Like I don't have a connection to Paris and stuff like that. So it's like it's cool, but the rides though, I would go Hagrid's 1, Battle 2. I enjoy Gringotts. I know it's not like people's favorite. I think it's a cool ride, and then I would probably go in Journey and then the Flight of Hippogriff. But my kids do like Flight of Hippogriff, so that's where I would kind of rank that. But the lands and the rides are maybe a little inverse there. But
yeah, I do want to say. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying, Vash, have you been to all the ones in Orlando?
I haven't been on all the ones in Orlando, just obviously Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade, Orlando right there. And I would actually separate Hogsmeade, Orlando from Hollywood. I think Orlando is a little bit stronger, obviously, because it has a Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, but not as good of restrooms right there as Hollywood. Hollywood, they got the restrooms game down pat right there, no question about that. But I like Diagon Alley a little bit more than Hogsmeade myself personally. That's just me. But the rides, I think,
I totally agree.
Yeah. See, there you go. With the rides, I think I would, maybe have Forbidden Journey, maybe perhaps higher than Gringotts.
I forgot Hogwarts Express.
That's above
Hagrid. Express. That's above Hippogriff for me.
Yeah, Hogwarts Express is fantastic. You gotta give it up to him. But obviously, I haven't yet ridden on Battle at the Ministry, so I'm not sure on that one. But similar rankings to you guys a little bit.
Well, let me ask you guys a question.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of transitions, who's going to win? Hollywood, Universal Hollywood with Wizarding World, right? With that Fast and Furious transition.
No other Universal Park has a large Fast and Furious mural in their transition.
In their transition,
Let's go.
or
Hollywood only.
or Pandora going off of Hollywood Boulevard in DCA. I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
We'll see.
and, that one's too big. It depends if they can really put it, do something. I don't know, they may surprise us. Who knows?
They might.
But that's a tough one. That's be a tough one.
It's gonna be an LA tunnel right there. It's gonna be our transition.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What made me think you said tunnel made me think about this whole new setup with the whole idea that they're going to build that tunnel between Epic and City Walk. Wonder if that happens under a new setup with that whole thing. So, yeah, interesting.
Now, I will say, Wizard, I do want to say I do like your new setup. Looks really good.
Thanks. I just got this today. Thank you, Amazon.
You should green screen it and put yourself like you're in Universal Hollywood.
I know. I want to put
you're on location.
Something's coming behind, like a logo or something to figure it out.
Yeah. And I agree with Remy D. Skull Island in Jurassic Park is also a rough transition. That one, just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And to answer Tones here, I have not watched it yet. It is on my list. I'm going to try and watch it this week.
The new season's much better than the last one so far.
I've heard pretty good things in terms of this.
It starts off with the 2 episodes here are the 2 episodes that are definitely canned from last season to the funding, so it feels like the end of last season, but it's the beginning of this season. But it's still really good because it's big battles and stuff. But it flows nicely.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. But all right, let's move on to our next non-controversial topic that we have, because that's all we do here is we all get along about everything. We agree on everything. I actually like that we have discussions and we're not just yelling at each other, but we could yell if you guys wanted to. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's yell. USA.
Yeah. We're just fighting over here. So obviously, I think it was a couple days ago, Disney had their new bus restrictions implemented, where if you're at Disney World going from Disney Springs to be able to use the bus transportation, you have to either be a Disney hotel guest or you have to have a reservation at a restaurant to be able to use the buses. Everybody else is kind of out of luck. You can't use it.
They can even find out where the buses are. That was my problem when I went to Disney Springs. Very upsetting.
Well, that's fair. Well, maybe they have maps. I know where they're at.
They had a map, but we went to the wrong station. And the Disney bus didn't come to that station, and it was very crowded. Dre knows, Vash knows. Oh, so it was the only bad spot of our entire Orlando's trip. Just trying to show to Liz, my wife, Disney Springs. It was horrible. I don't never want to go back there, but it was not enticing to go back. It was horrible. But yes, continue.
Well, Wizard, we were talking about the Disney Springs thing because out here in LA, we have those fancy kind of bougie outdoor malls are a dime a dozen out here in LA. The Grove out here has a trolley and all literally a little mini World of Color Bellagio thing. So Disney Springs just felt like a mall out here in California. We have so many of them, I don't know. I feel like the old Pleasure Island was way more interesting, but
do you have Chicken Guy?
You know what?
Again, if you can even get to it, my God, that place was too.
Listen, just because you guys don't know how to get to Flavor Town, that's not Disney Springs' fault. Okay,
that is true. I think the only Chicken Guy we have is in Hollywood, right, Wizard?
I think so. I think it's one over there.
Yeah, over by the Funko Pop Superstore, whatever.
Naturally. So basically, this whole bus situation has caused a little bit of a stir online, and we talked about it on a video the other day as well that Disney had verbiage in their promotions for their halfway to Christmas that also pointed to there could be more restrictions. Now, all cards on the table, they had this same wording last year, but I feel like their behavior is a bit different this go around. So they had put in this that said, looking to take Instagram-worthy pictures with Christmas trees and joyful decorations, or are you looking for a place to exchange gifts with family members while soaking in the sounds of peaceful holiday music? For guests staying at the resorts or those with valid dining reservations, the Disney Resorts Collection offers a wide array of bright and merry holiday decor. Now, like I said, they had that last year, but I think that and we had a live stream talking about this a couple weeks ago. I think there are more restrictions coming. And I think that this is probably something that has been delayed, considering that this has kind of been an issue with these resorts, the people using amenities that they're not supposed to be using, people going to certain resorts to work. And I think Disney is trying to maybe shed some of what they might look at as freeloaders. I'm not saying that's what they are. I'm just saying that's what Disney may look at them as. But I also think, and I don't know what you guys think about this, I think a component to this is preventing a team takeover that we have seen happening the last few months. I think if you looked at a weak point of the Disney resort, it would have been Disney Springs. And looking at anybody could get on a bus, could go any resort, and think about the fallout that would happen if there was a team takeover at, say, the Polynesian. Like that would be a disaster for Disney. So I feel like this is multifaceted, but I do feel like there's going to be more stuff coming. But what say you guys?
You know, it's interesting because there is definitely, by the way, Kiki and Luca's hilarious. Freeloaders sounds like every member of my family.
You shouldn't talk about your kids like that, Kiki. Come on.
I love Kiki and Luca. He's the man. No, but there is, and this is not like probably a popular opinion, but there is definitely like that freeloader culture kind of, and out here in California, same deal. And look, I've been guilty of it. I'm not going to say that I don't go to the Grand Californian and sit in front of the fireplace and chill. And I'm not even staying there. I do it all the time too. But there is that culture where like people like locals and like, you know, APs and Magic Key holders just go to these resorts and hang out. And honestly, these places are those resorts, people pay hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars to stay at these hotels. And when you have people that aren't staying there, you know, utilizing amenities for free, look, if I'm paying, you know, $1,000 or $1,500 to stay there, I mean, it's not a great feeling to have people just lounging around when they didn't pay anything to be there. I can see why Disney's doing it, and I can see people that pay the money to stay at these resorts, why they would be upset. So yeah. I know it's not a popular thing. I know it's never sexy to take something away, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, man. You're not paying you know, when you pay when you pay to stay at, like, say, for example, the Poly, right? Dre, you and I stayed there, beautiful resort. But when we stay there, we're not just paying for the room. You're paying for the amenities, the whole thing, the whole
right.
kit and caboodle. So when you walk in there and it's a bunch of locals like spread out on the couches and like, it's like, okay, I can kind of see why people would be upset, and I can see why Disney wants to pull that back a little bit, to be fair, you know?
Well, I can also see, oh, go ahead, Jared, please.
No,
I just wanted to say, even though I don't go to the parks, it is expensive. I do want to say this reminds me of how a lot of people would buy, you know, airplane tickets at Coach, but then they would try to go first class for free. Yeah. And everyone who pays for that first class gets upset that why you don't deserve that. We've been paying for this. We deserve first class. We should be getting all the amenities and everything that includes it. Not you. That's what it kind of feels like, because I know Disney has been aiming at getting that higher earnings customer base. And if a lot of the freeloaders come in, those customers will be a little bit upset that why am I paying for this?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a thing. And I think Seymour is right. I think we did talk about that last week, perhaps, when we brought this up initially, that perhaps they're looking at it and they're going, okay, well, we have a certain, you know, segment of the guests, right, that stays off property and benefits from a lot of the amenities on property, right? So in order to make it more attractive to actually stay on property, let's go ahead and really crack down on this just a little bit. We are now hearing rumors that perhaps maybe Poly and the Grand Flow are restricted in some way. I'm still trying to track down that story. There's the allegation that maybe a live streamer was denied entry to the Poly or something like that. Not quite sure about that yet, but we are seeing an escalation in this area. And it's really, really interesting because I think it was Bills and Eddie out there who had some very interesting words surrounding all of this, suggesting that because of the incoming attraction set for Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom and Disney Sound Studios, that maybe perhaps, you know, with that incoming, you know, guest mix, to take advantage of those new attractions. Perhaps it's like you're looking at years of infrastructure in which they haven't really necessarily added to all that meaningfully over the last 50 years. I mean, gradually a couple things, but not a heck of a lot. And you're looking at it and you're going, uh-oh, we might be in a situation here in which we have an influx of guests, you know, 10, 20, 25%. And now we are, at an infrastructural disadvantage to support all of those guests. So let's go ahead and get everything in place now so that when these guests do come, we have already established rules, regulations, policies in order to better manage, that increased attendance right there. That is a possibility. And he was suggesting that, hey, maybe, in order to pay for something like a new monorail, you have to alter those policies and so forth. Jared, you've been talking about a long time. Maybe they start charging for certain amenities like that, transportation around Walt Disney World property. I think all of those are open questions right now, given, I don't know, Disney wanting to do some very interesting things in the entertainment, and I'm sure.
And honestly, we can debate and we can talk about this, but we know the real reason is because these people are getting in the way of the bar. Let's be honest.
Well, what's funny is, now I agree with that. I had a similar theory that I think what Disney's doing with the bus transportation could be, or maybe all transportation, what they did in the theme parks, which is less people making more money from it, less strain on your infrastructure, less payments for labor, to make room, because in Disney's eyes, they're going to have a lot more people coming in when these things are done. I think that is a real thing they could be looking at and thinking, which would be interesting for Disney. Usually Disney's reactive. So being a little proactive and being like, hey, let's start getting some of this riffraff out of here. And some of this is Disney's own fault, like building the Poly Tower where they built it at already a very popular resort. So now you have even more people there. So now the normal traffic that comes in is overcrowding. And now if you're staying at the Polynesian, there's been tons of people talking about you can't even get breakfast at not Trader Sam's, but Captain Cook's. And so I as well would be if I'm paying $800 a night and I can't use the pool, I can't get food.
Right.
I have no problem building value into the paying guests. I do not have a problem with that. Even if that affects me negatively personally, here and there, which it probably would if they implemented a lot of these things, but I can understand why you would do it. I think that may be a path they're going down. So I think it partially could be that. I think it partially could be safety, because people have also some of the crime. I mean, Saratoga Springs, you can park at Disney Springs, walk over there. People have talked about things getting stolen. And just because you're at Disney does not mean that crime stops. And I think it could be multifaceted. And honestly, I've seen most people be pretty happy with this. I thought a lot of, now there have been people upset about this, but I think most people, at least on my channel, I've seen people, messaging me, have been pretty okay with this. And so I think a lot of people have been kind of frustrated by this for a period of time. And maybe Disney's just now, maybe Josh understood this when he was chairman and they didn't anything about it before. Maybe him and Masloom decided, hey, now's the time to nip this in the bud and, start figuring this out.
Well, it's also going to be interesting to see how this affects the live stream culture, right? Because a lot of people that live stream, I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush, because some live streamers do stay at these resorts. I'm not saying none of them do, but a lot of them will pop in and pop out and they do content and stuff. I wonder how that's going to affect that whole thing too, because that's a part of it. And we've talked about it before. I think low key in the behind the scenes, Disney's trying to sort of not completely get rid of the live stream stuff in the parks, but especially because after that Disneyland swatting thing with that dude Oblivion,
yep,
I think they're really considering trying to mitigate some of this stuff, not get rid of it, but mitigate.
Yeah,
vlogging too. I mean, vlogging also affected by those. Go ahead, Jared.
Yep. Well, we've seen Disney do this time and time again. Loopholes get exploited, parking hacks, whatever you want to call it. And if it gets big enough, Disney comes in and squashes it. It's whack-a-mole. It's kind of, they just did it with the third-party people that were doing things on Disney property a couple months ago. They had people coming in doing catering and bibbidi-bobbidi boutique type stuff. And they were like, you're out of here. Can't do it anymore. And so I think they have a pretty established pattern here. And I do. Now, Disney's not, my whole thing is Disney is not going to come out and say that we are making these changes for safety, because they don't even want to put it out there that there could be unsafe elements of the resort. So it's not something they're going to come out and make a statement about. But I think you would be an absolute fool to run Disney World and not be looking at some of these team takeovers and some of this stuff happening and be like, where are our weak points? And I think Disney Springs was the weakest one you had. Now, people pointed out there's still a loophole at Saratoga Springs. You can just walk down and get on a bus. I think they probably close that loophole pretty soon. So I think this will be incremental, kind of what we see when Disney does things. And I don't think there's as much pushback on this as people think. Now, one thing that will change this if they lose money. If they lose money and food sales and merchandise, You will see them change this undoubtedly.
Mm.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised about the gingerbread house issue recently, right? It's kind of like, okay, well, I understand, wanting to maintain some of those amenities for paying guests, no question about that. But then why get rid of an amenity like that? I know they've publicly come out and said, well, we want to go ahead and maintain guest flow. And it's like, I don't know. When I remember seeing a documentary back in 2009, which this thing was in the corner and didn't really necessarily hurt anybody. So I'm not quite sure if that's the full extent of it or the full excuse. But OG, sorry, what's a
No, I think that's a great point, and that's why I kind of made the joke a little bit ago about the people getting in the way of the bar, because I think the bar is in and around that gingerbread house, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe it's crowding and it's messing with the bar money. I don't, it's possible. We'll see, but it is. You make a great point though. That is interesting that they took that away. We'll see if it comes back. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a gingerbread bar next year.
So you're gonna have room for the bar now, and the bar, you can have the gingerbread messing with the bar sales over there.
God forbid.
Well, and like people theorized when they were building that bar that you're not going to see the gingerbread house again, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, there's no way," and now we're seeing it. Which, if they make as much money as they did last year off of that, you'll never see it come back. Now, if they see a dip in the gingerbread whatever sales, it'll come back because again, Disney is about protecting their money and making money. And so you could say the safety stuff is to protect it. And a lot of these changes around here are trying to increase it. And that ultimately is what's going to get them to move unless they become an altruistic company, which I don't believe that they are. So I guess the chances are there, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
Now, Gator brings up a great point here. He's saying that the bar and the gingerbread house were never open at the same time. That's interesting. I did not know that.
True. Well, is that? I'm trying to think. Well, last time I was there, the bar wasn't there.
They didn't have it last year, right? That was when the bar was brand new. So yeah, they've never been open at the same time. But I still think you can rearrange that in some way, or even have it at another location distinctly, so that maybe more people could enjoy it. I know some people have been saying, "Hey, Community Core Hall could be dressed up by anything."
Exactly.
So, you could put it there. It's a possibility, I suppose. We'll see if they. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, poor Epcot. I love that park so much, and it's gotten shafted for the past few years. It was just the worst. You know what it was? It was a perfect storm. It was like right there in the middle of the Chapek era when they were going through all that weird Imagineering stuff with Barbara Boza, and on top of that, we had the pandemic. And that's exactly right in the middle of all that was the Epcot redo. And I think that park just got stuck with not great stuff. Go ahead.
And hear me out, and Vash will agree. Gensler happened because that
That's right.
is a Gensler product through and through.
Yes, but here is, and I'm opening up a whole can of worms right now. But the Gensler
I know where you're going
thing,
with this.
Yeah, the person running Universal's theme park stuff right now is a Gensler.
Yep, I agree. I saw that too, and I was like, "Oh no, that's bad." And Gensler is a blight on imagination and making good about buildings. They're just like, how can we depress people more? And they're like,
yes.
They got you know how at Disney Imagineers how they went on field trips to like New Orleans for Tiana's,
right?
Gensler creatives go to IKEA and get inspired.
Absolutely. No question.
Brutalist enough, though. Maybe we go. What about that bridge down there? Let's go check that out. I like the way that's laid out. Yeah. No,
are there too many curves in our minimalist architecture?
I saw somebody crack a smile over here, and I don't appreciate that. We need to change it. Yeah.
Now I did mention Chapek and Wizard loves.
Oh yes, I was hoping you'd do it today.
There we go, Wizard. This is for you, buddy.
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
There we go.
I apologize.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those conversations where it's a lot of theoretical about what may happen, but I would be pretty surprised if we don't see any further restrictions from what they have just done now. I'd be surprised if it stops at Disney Springs. Now we have seen them do it Christmas time where they do limit talking about like walking to the Poly. They have done that at Christmas time before. That is like probably the busiest time at the theme park. So just because they do it seasonally doesn't mean they won't do it permanently, but they also used to do that at Disney Springs seasonally as well. So with a new, management in here on all levels, you're talking vice president or president of the parks, chair or experiences and CEO, you could have a different mindset about this stuff and going very differently. I definitely think it's possible. I would put, if I was betting, which I'm not a betting man, but I would put my money on this eventually leads to a bus pass or transportation pass where guests at the resorts get it for free. And then everybody else has to essentially subsidize because, like I've said numerous times, their expense on transportation is anywhere from $100 to $400 million per year. You throw in replacing the monorail fleet. I don't see a scenario where Disney just eats that cost without trying to think of an ROI back on.
Let me ask you guys a question because I'm not super versed in the Florida stuff. Magical Express, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that for everybody? Like, if you stayed off property, that wasn't you couldn't do Magical Express, right?
Correct. It was just Disney hotel guests.
Okay, so this also might be something. It might be this stuff might also be an answer to the removal of the Magical Express. Like, okay, we took that amenity away.
Right.
This is how we offset that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. Just a thought.
I
Now,
think you're right.
I have a question. Well, for all of you, because look, Disney Springs, and this is semi-related, but Disney Springs is not really connected to anything, and Animal Kingdom isn't either. What are the chances that we can get like some actual transportation, like a Skyline or monorail extension, something to connect Disney Springs to like an Animal Kingdom to things instead of just buses?
There were plans, I think, wasn't there, Vash, for an Animal Kingdom expansion of the Skyliner?
Just about to say there were rumors and there were plans that they would actually expand the Skyliner out in order to include places like Animal Kingdom Lodge that has no transportation whatsoever, even though it is a deluxe property. And I mean, if you look at sales for Animal Kingdom Lodge, it's like obviously it's priced differently than all the other deluxes, which is very, very interesting, and demand is much lower there. Obviously, if you're TVC, for example, you can get in there much easier than you can in other places. So that lack of transportation is certainly an issue, and I think Wizard, that would be awesome if they were to invest in transportation, but I think it's kind of the opposite. They might be pulling back a little bit.
Yeah.
Right, and in order to mitigate those investments to some degree, if in fact they reduce the amount of people actually on there. Now, maybe that's to pay for other things like a new monorail, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Real quick, I gotta go tell my kids good night. I don't know if you guys want to continue the conversation, go for it. OG, if you guys want to move into the Disneyland stuff, go for that as well. Before I do go, I did want to say
good night, Caps kids.
I'll tell them all you said good night. Everybody here, they said good night. Julie, I hope I get this right. Julie, AK Cellrad, 1911, became a member. Thank you, Julie, for that. Appreciate that. And I will be right back. So if you guys still talk, I'll jump back in. If you move on to Disneyland, I will go with the flow. So I'll leave it up to you for a few minutes.
Sounds like a plan. We'll try not to burn the place down while you're gone, Jared.
Let's not do that.
I'll put it this way. I don't worry about it with you guys here, but things can happen. So we'll see what happens. I'm just rolling the dice here. We'll see. So I'll be back.
now, gentlemen. Okay, do you want to dip into this pirate thing, or you
I
guys?
have one more
Go ahead.
question about Disney World. I guess especially for Vash, because he's like, I feel like the most Disney World knowledge person here, because as you just said, they may not expand the Skyline or monorail, but are they gonna like add some more buses? The Disney World is so big, right?
Yeah.
And I don't understand why they have a bus come every hour or something. Like that's like mind blowing to me. Like maybe if they have like a transportation pass and you have to pay for the bus, if that gives them to hire some more people and add some more buses, I'll take it, because it's just so difficult. When we stayed at Universal Orlando, well, I told you, I mean, I don't think we waited more than 7 minutes for a bus the whole trip. It was like walked up and it was right there. Obviously, it's smaller, but they're lined up. Disney World couldn't even find the bus station. So I mean, it shouldn't come once an hour. Can they at least fund some more buses? Like, what do you think?
Well, I mean that's the hope, right? Because I think back back in the day, this was like 20 plus years ago, it used to be pretty much every 15 minutes. Then they moved towards a more dynamic model where it's more demand based. So maybe they'll come more frequently in the mornings and nights than the middle of the day, afternoons, and that kind of thing in order to mitigate some of those costs. But you got to realize, Wizard, you're talking about 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, 25, well over 25, distinct properties on Walt Disney World property and Disney Springs. So in order to facilitate transportation to each one of those, I mean, you just do the math right here. You're talking about hundreds of bus drivers, and that's why, they've scaled it back a little bit in order to save on some of those resources and some of that capital expenditure right there. I do agree with you. If in fact we got a better service for maybe a charge per day, actually might be, might work out for everybody involved, including people who are actually staying there on resort property who might get an amenity included right there. So I don't disagree with that, because the frequency of buses, I think, is part of this issue. Now, they could have increased the frequency, right? They could have said, oh, hey, we'll go ahead and add on more bus drivers, add on more buses, add on more expense in order to deal with this increased capacity and demand for these services. But again, they're paying more money for people who aren't necessarily going to benefit them in the back end. I don't know if we're going to go ahead and necessarily make go down that road when we could very well regulate this a little bit more, cap who's actually using it, and now we've eliminated those capacity concerns. They just took the path of least resistance.
Now, Vash, did you say road?
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Sorry. Sorry. Hey, we talked a little Universal. Had to do it.
I love it.
So let's talk about this pirate situation. This has been the talk of the community for pretty much the whole week, right?
Oh, yes.
It's wild. I'll kick us off, and then I'll go to you, gentlemen. Seymour, you and I actually did a video. We talked about this pirate thing a little bit the other day too. Here's my take on it. I understand the critiques, right? I understand the critiques of like the main critique, I think, is really there's a few main critiques. One of the critiques is you don't see real pirates until a certain part of the attraction. It's skeletons, and then the fleshed out pirates later on. Completely understand that. I think that's kind of and see, this is where I get myself in trouble, but this is how I feel, so I'm gonna be honest. I think that's kind of a nerd thing. I don't think the general public notices that storyline. That also with the animatronic itself, I think Disney dropped the ball on that thing like crazy, and not because of the figure itself necessarily. They went in there with their camera. They were this close to it. And that's not how it was designed to be enjoyed. This thing was meant to be seen feet and feet away from your boat. And they do this a lot, Disney. And I think that really is obviously that's not, it was kind of like the Walt animatronic, right? I think it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. When you're not showing the figure for how it's meant to be seen, you're not doing yourself any favors. And then once you ruin that first impression, it's over. You tainted it. So I think the figure itself is cool. I just think that the way that they rolled it out was dude, amateur hour. Why would they focus on that figure so close when you don't even see it like that when you're on the ride? Go ahead, Vash.
We got some visuals, by the way, in order to illuminate to the audience what maybe we are discussing.
There we go.
So OG is of course discussing the treasure scene in the famous Dead Man's Cove version of the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction, specifically at Disneyland. You can see kind of on screen what that used to look like before, and obviously that's been modified with this updated external projection technology, which is very impressive technology, I will say, but I just think they didn't do all that well when it came to the overall execution. That's just me, though. I'll expand my thoughts. I know you were directing a question towards Seymour, so please, Seymour, come on in, and I'll go ahead and go on after you.
What are your thoughts, Seymour? We talked about this a little bit the other day. What are your thoughts on the technology and as a theme park normie?
So yes, a theme park normie. I'm like OG. Instead of vibes, I'm an investor guy, and I invest in the companies that I like. But yeah, I haven't been into a Disney park for years. They're very expensive nowadays. But So that's why I would rather invest in the company and get my money back. But yeah, anyways, I like the execution wasn't the greatest, but the technology around it is what intrigues me as a tech nerd using Unreal Engine in real time. And I'm hoping that they can fix this in the future so that they can have better execution for this. But because I understand where they're going with this, but it's the tech that I like. And Unreal Engine, you have so much capabilities that you can use for that. And with the partnership that Disney has with Epic Games, the Unreal Engine, I think they could do better. But I'm hoping they learn from this mistake, this execution that's happening, and create a better experience for the park people that go to the parks. Unfortunately, when you see it up close, it looks great. But then, like you guys said, when you look far away, it's not the greatest. And I'm hoping that they can fix that.
Well, so this is interesting. When this came up, at first I was like, "Oh, cool! It's cool, new animatronic." And I thought it was a new. Well, I guess it is new animatronic, but I didn't realize it replaced a pirate that was already there until, like you said, they zoomed down. I'm like, "Oh, wait, I know what scene that is." And I was like, "Oh!" So I went from, "Oh, this is cool," to, "Oh, I see why people are like against this." So I'm like, kind of like with everybody. I like the technology, cool. I think that would have been a cool addition of an animatronic, not like replacement, but maybe addition somewhere else in the ride. Maybe if they some on the lift or whatever. But so I totally get it. But also, I wanted to actually give Disney some props, not even just for this particular situation, but this is like maybe the third time recently that an attraction has gone down for a refurbishment across both coasts and come back with a plussing, like an unannounced plussing. So with the Storybook Land, with the Tangle Tower and the Buzz stuff at Walt Disney World. So that's pretty cool that they are, at least instead of during these standard refurbishments, they're just coming back with some plussing of attractions. Again, in this particular case, I do think that the animatronic should have been some addition somewhere down the line, maybe not replacing the scene that looks just great there. But I do like that they are plussing attractions kind of randomly, kind of like they used to do back in the day, with new enhancements and technologies during these regular routine refurbishments.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Wizard. That's a great point that you bring up. In that, and I know it sounds really cliche, but that's really when Walt Disney built Disneyland and kind of set the groundwork for these parks. That was that was his mission statement, right? These things are ever evolving. These things are it's a creative sandbox, and it's hard as a fandom because fans get very attached, right? Mm-hmm. So it's always like this push and pull with the mission statement of what Walt really wanted for these parks, right? Which is an ever changing, ever evolving thing, always bringing in new technology. At the same time, though, you have a fandom that's very nostalgic, and my kids went on this ride, and their kids are going to go on this ride. And so you have this constant push and pull between the need to evolve and move forward. At the same time, though, you're pushing against the fandom, which is like, no. Like, I'm emotionally invested in this thing. I don't want you to change it. Right. It's tough. It really is tough. And no other company on the planet has that level of emotional investment. Not a single one. So I don't envy them at all, because any changes, they don't have the freedom to do. Like, Universal has way more freedom to kind of tinker and play. It's a lot harder with Disney. So,
well, they can sure change web slingers. I think everyone will be pretty okay with that.
Yeah, I think everybody would be fine with web slingers. Just a little bit.
Except Jay Shearer. Our friend Jay Shearer loves that ride, which really surprised me.
That is his villain con.
But Jay also hates the Beatles. And I'll agree that they're dirty hippies, but they still changed music. I mean, you know what I mean? But
they did.
They were dirty hippies, those Beatles, but they made some great music. I know, by the way, I went through a Beatles phase. I know way too much about the Beatles. Like, it's stupid. I worked in a warehouse with a hip, but
better go watch those movies coming out.
I know. To me, I agree everything from what I just heard. What you were talking about, OG, but I think when you premiere, to me, it's like fan base and nostalgic it is and how they're tied to these things. I feel like when you do update something new tech, it needs to be tech that like blows you away. And I just don't think it could get there. I just don't think this is that. And I think that is partially some of this. And I think they are working on cool stuff. And I think Bruce Vaughn is very tech driven. And I'm not against that. But I think anytime you touch a ride like Pirates, like these classic attractions, do something like this on something that's not a classic attraction to feel it out. I don't think this is a great ride to like do this here where you're getting a lot more criticism. Whereas if you put it on something else, like, you know, Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin or something, like people aren't going to get upset about that ride. And then you can tinker with it till you feel like you have it really good and then put it in some of these classic attractions. I think that's one thing. Because when I first saw the footage, I was like, I don't know. That it just doesn't look great in the ride.
Well, and also too. Oh, go ahead, please, Wizard.
I was saying, it is funny that, you know, Disney did debut this projection face when they spent all the time just revamping the Frozen faces with
Right.
the real faces.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I wanted to get to, right? You had the Frozen faces, which utilizes an entirely different technology, actually, which what's very interesting is that this is external projection technology. So if you look at like the Grim Grinning Ghosts, for example, that debuted in Disneyland's Haunted Mansion in 1969, that's external projection technology as well. But obviously, those are static figures. In order to allow for movement of those objects, they've gone towards like projections that are actually within the faces themselves, and that's what you get the modern version of Madame Leota, for example, or like the Hatbox Ghost, or you know, even the Frozen figures as they existed before at Epcot at World of Frozen, and also to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So those are all internal projection units. This is an external projection unit in which you can maintain fidelity with a moving object, which is very cool. That has a lot of amazing potential to it. I just don't know if this was properly leveraged. If you were to take like a dimensional figure, for example, like Lincoln, right, and then have, you know, a tear running down his eye, which is actually the example that they show when they actually showcase this tech some time ago. Hey, maybe that actually is a nice place in which you could actually utilize that technology. You know, Lincoln, obviously, that's also a Walt era type show, but it has changed over the years and so forth. Whereas I think the atmosphere for this scene in particular and the cove itself has been lovingly maintained for a long, long time. In fact, you know, when those things were disturbed, like, for example, the waterfall effect that I believe Walt Disney World actually still has, Disneyland got rid of that in 2018. That's where you get Kim Irvine adding that transition scene, as she calls it, for the 1-act, 2-act structure of this attraction, where you have skeleton in the first half and then animatronics in the second half. It's kind of like the Hatbox Ghost, right, when it comes to the Walt Disney World incarnation. At Disneyland, great tech. They added it in the perfect place, in the attic, where, honestly, he was back some time ago when the attraction opened for that brief period of time in 1969, before I believe it opened to the public widely, which is very interesting. Now, in Walt Disney World, they added him to, like, right next to the endless hallway, I do believe, in the beginning of that attraction, which, if you know that, you have Act 1, which is very atmospheric, and then you have Madame Leota. She brings all the ghosts to life, and that's why you have animated figures from that point on. It's the placement of that figure that so many people had issues with. I think some of that is playing out here as well. I also want to say this is a tech demo, a tech showcase. A lot of people thinking, oh, well, this is just, Disney Plusing. No. This is a tech showcase for technology to be infused in maybe future attractions and or Abu Dhabi. It says right here from Bloomberg, we're working backwards through our other experiences to test and learn so that we can deliver on the promise and that all of our parks will benefit from the innovations between now and then. That was Kyle Laughlin, Senior Vice President for Technology at R&D at Walt Disney Imagineering, talking about this specific figure right here. So if you're looking for a tech showcase, I just don't know if this was the best outlet. Not only is it misplaced, but tech-wise, it doesn't look all that distinguishable from like the Frozen tech, and that's why a lot of people are drawing those comparisons, even though the technology is entirely different. So I just think they failed on multiple levels when it came to the implementation of this technology. It could be great, it could be awesome, just the wrong venue for it.
Well said. A couple different things here. People are talking about the face being kind of like a caricature. It is. But the rest of the old school Pirates animatronics are kind of a caricature as well. I actually don't like the Jack Sparrow animatronics because they're too real. It's so Johnny Depp and so lifelike. It stands out too much when you have a bunch of I can never say it. Caricatures,
yeah.
Of these pirates, and then you have this very real, hyper realistic, Jack Sparrow. It always stuck out like a sore thumb to me. So I feel like at least this figure kind of like stays in line with that caricature kind of facial, because the noses, the features are exaggerated in the original animatronics as well. But it might look a little funkier with the projection, though. You know what I'm saying?
Shouldn't Abu Dhabi be the park that does this stuff, though? And then it comes over to the domestic parks? I thought that was the whole part of the reason of Abu Dhabi was to be testing it over there before they bring it here.
They might be selling it, though, towards... I forget the group doing it every single time I talk about this issue. Yes, the group paying for Abu Dhabi. This might actually be a showcase for them and saying, hey, look, listen, we can implement this technology within these attractions, but obviously we're going to need a little bit more moolah to bring these to life. That, I think, might be the ultimate goal there. Also, too, like you said, Jared, Bruce Vaughn also incorporated into this equation right there, that for many years, while he actually worked at WDI before, he was looking to showcase the R&D capabilities of Walt Disney Imagineering. So there's a little bit of that playing out here as well, I do think. The caricature thing, the stylized thing that you were talking about, OG, yeah, that was working within the framework of limited audio technology, as brought out by Mark Davis's great expressions, and then, built to life with Blaine Gibson's amazing carving, right? So it's like, okay, well, we can't have, crazy facial expressions actually be exerted by these audio-animatronics that, what they were building back in the 1960s. So what can we do? Let's go ahead and make them a little bit more stylized. I do agree with you. They did go towards the realism end to bring Jack Sparrow and Barbossa to life. No question about that, but that's because those are real guys. And so I think what people might be reacting to is that on the caricature versus realistic side of the equation, this is very caricature in a ride that already went realistic. So I think it's the width that you've created here that maybe people are reacting to as well.
Yeah, and maybe it's really funny. I had a crush on the yellow skeleton. I'll miss him. Rest in peace. I love it. Well, another thing too, I want to ask you guys, right? Kim Irvine, she retired what, Vash, like a year ago or so?
Yeah, she retired. You're in some change ago. Yeah,
you're in some change. Kim Irvine was a steward for these older attractions, getting them plussed. She did a phenomenal job on our castle. Beautiful job on the castle. She did Club 33. She's done all kinds of stuff. Is this? People feel like they dropped the ball on this pirate. Do you feel like this is possibly us seeing the effects of Kim Irvine's departure?
This is my biggest concern with Kim Irvine moving, because I think she was actually an advocate for these attractions staying the way they were, not so much somebody who was looking to innovate or make their mark on these attractions. That's why I think with both refurbishments that she was a part of back in 2018 when it came to the implementation of like the new auctioneer scene, which by the way every single park across the world got, except for Tokyo, of course, because they're the best. But every single park around the world got a version of that scene, right? And so her job was to obviously install that and do that. Okay, fine, whatever. But she did add that transition scene in place of the waterfall effect to bring it back to the practical, bring it back to taste and all of that. She did a similar thing with Haunted Mansion, actually, when she got rid of, Constance Hatchaway, which some people liked. I didn't necessarily think it matched the tone of that original scene. She brought it back to that as well. When Kim Irvine's taken out of the equation, I don't know who is the advocate necessarily championing what the Imagineers did back in the 60s and 70s. There's not many people left like that. So I think that also too is playing into this, which was why I was a little bit disappointed with her departure, because she was always that gal, fighting for let's maintain what the Imagineers try to do here and then some.
Yeah.
Well, we've also seen this happen with movies too, where instead of adopting stories, whether it's book or comic book or whatever it is, of changing. I mean, you could say thing for Star Wars of like they want to put their mark on it. And I think that is something that we've seen happen to so many different mediums. And I understand the pull of wanting to use tech, and I'm not against it. But Disney's very, like you were saying, OG, Disney's very unique. You've got a fan base here that is they're going to notice if you moved one of those gold coins 3 inches. They're going to be like, wait a minute here. And that's the good and the bad that comes with a fan base. And I think a lot of Hollywood in particular and a lot of corporate execs kind of turn their nose at that, but it's actually having a fan base that is involved like that is a blessing. That means that they are a fan of these things, and you have to treat them, I think, with some reverence in many ways. And I think many people misinterpret it as they're hating on me and hating on this tech, but more or less it's you just have to treat it differently, and it's not necessarily your tech playground to just go in here and mess with these things. Even if it's cool tech, even if it might work, you got little bit too gung-ho about like, we're doing this for Abu Dhabi, but you're also a Walt Original Park in a very classic attraction. You're using this as a testing ground. I don't think that's great from the optics standpoint, that essentially you're showcasing this for an overseas park or whatever the reason is. I think a lot of there is some give and take with the fan base. And I just think many times execs and people in charge have this very antagonistic relationship with the fan base. But I feel like if you actually like looked at it as something that is it's a benefit, it's something that is good that you have a fan base that involved. I think that sometimes that's what happens when you're talking about Hollywood theme parks or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think in terms of using this for the domestic parks going forward, a couple different attractions come to mind for me personally. I think Indiana Jones, I could see that them using this, like maybe like a face melting or something, something crazy, right? Some like crazy, like in classic Indiana Jones style. I can definitely see that happening. Also, Coco, people have said maybe Coco at DCA might get this, but I've actually heard, I think it was Drew, the Disney dude, who we love, Drew. Shout out to Drew. He was on my channel, I think about a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about the animatronics coming to that attraction, that they're actually going to be like actual animatronics though, like those skeletons. So I don't know if this is going to come to that ride, but maybe it's possible, right? I can definitely see it. But yeah, I think I think Coco's a contender. So we'll kind of see, but this is not the first time. I mean, this is not the first and last time we're going to see it. I think this is also, we talked about it. This is also that Unreal Engine technology, and Disney's all in on that big game stuff, so.
I do want to state that ever since Josh became CEO, he's been pushing a lot of changes within the company. Whereas previously with Iger, when he came back after COVID, the innovation has been stalled. Now we're seeing so much innovation happening in real time with even just the smallest things like adding music to Star Wars.
Yeah. No, well said.
It's interesting because I don't know if anybody read the Wall Street Journal recently talking about Josh D'Amaro's first 100 days with the company, but he did say, I want to go ahead and take risks and we want to be faster. Well, we're certainly going faster and we're certainly taking some risks. These last two stories have anything to say about that.
Yeah, no, and I do. And here's the thing too, and I've always said this, and like, I like the fact I want a risk taker when it comes to who's leading Disney. I think this company was built on risk, right? Now, a lot of people will tell me like, oh, you're a shill because, blah, blah, blah. That's not that. I don't love every change. And I don't think anyone should love every single change. But I do think, though, it's better for Disney to be a company that swings for the fences and sometimes misses and fall short than a company that stagnates and rides coattails. I'd rather have Disney go really big.
Yeah, this is the complaint we've had about Disney for years, is that they're not taking risks. They're just staying complacent. So I think when you do take risks, like some of them aren't going to work, but you have to be like Eisner. You got to be willing to take. He had hits, but he had things that didn't work out. And I think a lot of people just think they want to see new things, but they want to see it perfect. And that's just not how it typically works in any business or medium. Like if you're going to take risk, there's some of it may work and some of it may not, but if you learn from it, like it can be a learning lesson to improve in the future. But I completely agree. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's something we
no, well said. And then Kiki and Luca, I want to thank you so much for the $5 super chat. But Kiki and Luca is asking a great question. is it possible to go, because I know we have a hard out, so is it possible to go quickly around the panel and get a 1 out of 10 score for the current state of Disney?
Ooh. Well, I guess are we talking just theme parks specifically?
I think Disney itself.
The whole kit and caboodle, I think, is what he's talking
I'd say
about.
maybe about a 6.
Yeah, maybe 6, 7. Not kidding.
Yeah.
No, I can't take that joke. Remy D actually did it before me. I'm just Remy D. Big shout to Remy D. Yeah, go ahead, Jared.
So, 6. I mean, financially, I think I would. If you're looking at theme parks, financially great, user guest in, maybe improving. I think 6 is fair. I might put it at 6.
Okay, I'm gonna go 7. I'm gonna go 7 right now. I think with the current landscape going on, I think that, like, especially comparative to a lot of other studios, I think Disney's doing pretty good. Not perfect though, by any means, not perfect. I think we really got to get Star Wars, back on running on all cylinders again. The MCU has seen better days, but I think overall, I think we're moving in the right direction. While there are problems, it's not as bad as it was a few years ago. So I'm gonna go 7. What say you, Vash?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 6 myself. I think that was the number that was screaming out at me when I saw this question right here. And honestly, I think it comes down to the state of the industry right now. There's a lot of competition. It's really transforming very, very quickly. The stock price has kind of stalled a little bit, over the last 10 years. It really hasn't moved the needle. A lot of those acquisitions made by Bob Iger. I don't know. I don't know if we're in better places now, especially where they've taken them since that ultimate acquisition right there. You could say that there's been some high points with those, but I don't know how well we're doing currently when it comes to the state of those as well. Theme park side of the business, doing pretty well, obviously, but I think we are looking for some more movement there as a fan base and so forth. So I look at that, and Disney Plus. I mean, we have spent hundreds of billions of dollars in that. I'm really looking for some big returns right there. And look, if Disney Plus was doing gangbusters, I would absolutely raise my score there. But as it currently stands right now, like a 6 for me.
What about you, Wizard? Then we'll go down to Mr. Seymour Duck.
Well, Wizard.
Yeah, about a 6 for me.
Okay.
Seymour, what do you got?
I'll give it a 7. Essentially, the same as what Vash was saying with the financial numbers in the stock. If the stock and the Disney Plus grow even more in the future, then I could see it go even further down to 8. I mean, further up to 8 or even 9, because that right now it's still a small piece of the pie of their profitability. But right now, I give it a 7. But because they did rebound, there's a lot of mistakes that Disney had in the past, and they rebounded quickly. Even after COVID, the profitability went down, and then they had a few movies that were misses. And then, the narrative on the internet was that Disney's dead, they're going bankrupt, and then they recovered all from that. And they're doing better than ever than any of the other media companies. So I give respect that they have recovered, but they still have a lot more room to grow.
Well said. I think the turning point for Disney's recovery was She-Hulk. That changed the game. They were just
the twerking scene.
Yeah, they really turned the corner right there, didn't they?
And to explain
and then they had a double financial skyrocket with Snow White.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
man.
Well, and I think
To
that's
the
where,
moon.
Snow White.
Made them
Yeah.
$2 billion.
But Seymour.
I
Oh,
think
go ahead. Sorry.
I think as a company, the theme parks are making a lot of money, the guest experience, but I think when the studio side, it's like the sequels are doing well, but I think it's a big liability that they cannot get anything original kind of going. And I don't think that bodes
What
well.
are you talking about? Strange World did phenomenal.
That's true. And I don't think, by the way, I get the same vibes from Hexed. I don't think Hexed is going to do well either. Right? Kind of gives me.
Hey, that'll make as much as Strange World, $1 billion.
true. So I think for those reasons and Disney Plus in there, like I think 6. I mean, if you look at theme parks alone, you could put it higher, but I think as a whole, to me, I think 6. But I mean, whether it's 6 or 7, I think we're all pretty much close to what we're looking at. Not to do the joke, but
and Seymour makes a good point, because like there was a lot, it was looking pretty rough for Disney. The pandemic really hurt Disney, because we talked about it earlier on in this show. Universal has a theme park presence, but it doesn't account for as much of the pie for that company as it does for Disney. And when those parks and those cruise lines couldn't operate, it hurt Disney really bad. So considering where we were, what was it, 5-6 years ago, and where we are now? Well, I don't know.
And I would say I'm pretty optimistic with Tomorrow. I do think he is, I've liked most of the things. It seemed like the posture is different. We'll see. But I think there is some optimism looking at this, maybe as some changes here. So, it's not like it's a doom and gloom 6 necessarily, but any business has things that they can definitely overcome. Sean Narani says, be careful, OG She-Hulk can break the fourth wall. She might come after you. She might twerk on you.
She might, dude. Yeah, you never know. I'm gonna tear a hip labrum if she does that,
Good point.
Oh no.
It could also just be she kind of actually took advantage of a guy against his will in that show too. I'm just saying. Before we get out of here, we do have a 5 here from Rock Blazer 12, which is a cool name. He says, imagine if the money they spent on this was used instead to say, I don't know, fix the spinning on Roger Rabbit or the Phantasmic Dragon.
Totally agree with that statement.
Or
by
to
the
make
way,
Snow White too.
That's true. It's like we have priorities, guys. Priorities. I know that they're budgeted differently, and this was coming out of WDI versus like I think Phantasmic's Dragon would come out of the entertainment budget, but it is kind of like, okay, Phantasmic across the way from Pirates of the Caribbean looking real rough. I mean, real bad. And this goes long beyond the Dragon right there. Roger Rabbit not spinning and this is the problem of a company that, has siphoned so much cash flow from the parks to fund a lot of these exercises, and the imbalance of where they're actually getting the revenue streams from. It's like this is a tough situation right now for the parks themselves.
Well, wasn't that, to be fair though, the Dragon 100%, but wasn't the spinning? I thought that was because they were trying to cycle more people through for capacity.
Yes, that is the allegation right there. But
that's what I'm hearing. But I mean, I don't know.
Diminishing, like Jared was going to say right there. Well, Jared, go ahead, please.
Well, I was just saying, when we did a live stream talking about that, it's kind of the Masloom effect of his sort of thinking about efficiency of rides. It probably, from what you were saying.
Yeah.
I don't like cutting out enjoyment or even like the main design conceit of an attraction just for throughput. That's some Pressler type thinking right there.
Yeah,
that's a fair point.
True.
That's a fair
point. I agree
point.
with Remy D, by the way. Fix the Yeti. Put a changing face on the Yeti where it looks like he moves, not just making Disco Yeti. That'd be my
changing face. That would be kind of crazy.
He goes from sad to happy. You're like, oh, he's a happy Yeti, whatever. But yeah, something would be better than just perpetually just having a strobe light there. But it's still a great ride. So
I do want to say that I do agree with Jared, with Josh. In the future of Disney, I have faith as him as the CEO. He gives me more faith than Bob Iger when he came back after COVID. Gave me much more faith than Chapek, especially when he's utilizing all the tent poles of the company, and even looking in the future, even like the gamification of it all, especially when I've already stated that it is expensive for someone internationally to go to a Disney park in Florida or California. It's actually cheaper for me to go to the one in Tokyo instead. And for me to experience Disney virtually in a way that it's the gamification of it all, I'm excited for that with Epic Games. And Josh is pushing that. Josh has been working closely with the CEO of Epic Games. He said he's a risk taker and he's working fast. And I've been seeing this, and he gives me like a vibe of a tech CEO, and he wants to push Disney to new heights. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's well said. And that was one of the big concerns I had with Josh, was that, and I know my parks people are going to disagree with me on this, but that's okay. But like, I was a little concerned of a parks guy coming in here and being too hyper focused on the parks, because the parks are a big deal. I'm not saying they're not, but I know Gator's going to disagree with me on this. but I think Disney, it's way bigger than just the theme parks, right? It's not like a Cedar Fair where that's the only thing they do. And I still believe, more now than ever, Disney depends on IP. The IP, at least back in the day, Disney would build original attractions. They don't do that anymore. Everything they do is based on an IP. So even the parks division depends heavily more now than ever on that studio end of it. So I'm glad that Josh Yamaro has come in and was like, you know what? Okay, we're gonna do gaming, we're gonna do streaming. He's been like the studio, like he's focusing on everything, and at the same time, the Parks fans were getting fed. I mean, he just announced what 30 plus billion up until 2032 or something like that. I don't remember what it was exactly, but that's on top of the 60 billion turbocharging. So it's not like the Parks fans are getting left out, but he's also focusing on other stuff, which is also good. It's a big company. You have to get the whole shebang in there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and he's kind of gone out of his way to even remove himself from some of the park stuff. So I think he definitely has showed that he's more than just. But we are up against a hard out here. We do have some, listen, people got things got to do. We got to end this stream. Every good thing comes to an end at some point. This has been honestly really good discussion. You guys have been awesome in the chat. With all the support, just the interaction here. So thank you guys for being here. Before we get out of here, though, let everybody tell you where they can find, or where the audience, where everybody can find you at. So, of course, Orange Grove 55, thank you for being here, as always. And where can everybody find you out here on the internet?
Yeah, great conversation, fellas. I love talking shop with you guys. Everybody in the chat, thank you for joining tonight. You'll catch us next week again on Tuesday night. But yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking theme parks, studio, corporate side, even ancient aliens and pyramids. Jared knows about that. We did a video on that, bro. That was fire, absolute fire. So check us out here on Orange Grove 55, also X and Instagram, Orange Grove 55. And again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. And I think, honestly, we haven't talked about this as officially, but I think we may stick to Tuesdays because I think Tuesdays work pretty well schedule-wise, and they've been going well. And it's actually easier for me because Wednesdays I record the podcast and do this. So I'm a fan of Tuesdays. So I think going forward, we will stick to Tuesdays at 8:30 Eastern time. So I think that's going to be the new time slot here for Theme Parkin'. And of course, we have Mr. Vash Sky here. Thank you as always, Vash, Mr. B-roll extraordinaire. And we'll have more of that coming your way, of course. And but yeah, where can they find you and everything going on at Vash Sky ParkCast?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Jared. OG, thank you. Seymour, Wizard, great to do a show with you guys here. A lot of great conversation about Comcast and everything else. So thank you so much for that. You can catch me on Vash Sky at X and Vash Sky ParkCast on YouTube. Tomorrow, actually, we've got a live stream going on at 2 p.m. Eastern following That Park Plays, talking about all kinds of stuff going on in the theme parks, worldwide, but certainly over there at Disneyland. You know, this Twilight Pass that they're having right now, that's a very interesting topic for discussion right there. There is so much going on, so go ahead and join us for that. We also have a video coming out. That's me and Jonas J. Campbell tomorrow coming out, talking about Comcast as well. He comes at it from a little bit more of the Comcast perspective, but I think it's so relevant to the conversation, especially to the conversation of theme parks. So definitely check that out as well. Thank you so much. Seymour, where can people find you at?
Oh yeah, you can find me on X at Mr. Seymour Duck, and also at the Duck Pond on Orange Grove 55. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me on, especially when we have to talk about numbers and
my internet is
deep
being
dive.
Okay. Sorry, my internet. I'm about to throw my computer through a wall. Sorry, I don't know where you guys are at. My apologies.
No worries. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I do apprciate it.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
I always love having Seymour on. He always has a good perspective on the finances, and anytime we talk about this stuff, it's always good. So yeah, always welcome back here. Of course, the Duck Pond is always very comfortable to go in the Duck Pond. It's kind of like a hot tub there. You just go hang out a little bit. But of course, Mr. Theme Park Wizard, thank you as well for being here, Mr. Permit himself. And we'll have you on again for sure, talking about some. I know you've got some inside stuff about Universal Hollywood, but we had a lot of big topics here, so we'll get to that in the next one, or do a live stream on your channel or something like that. We'll be sure to hop on there. But where can they find you and all your permit ways out there?
You can find me at Theme Park Wizard on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and more. And check out the latest stories on themeparkwizard.com. Thanks for having me on, folks.
Absolutely.
That's all, folks.
now, real quick,
Thank you.
Kiki and Lucas said we got to get Jose on one of these, and Webba.
Yes.
I was going to say, Jose, listen,
Love
Jose was not kicked off the show. Jose's got a really busy schedule. He always has an open invitation on here. I love Jose on the show. So anytime he has an open slot, you will see Jose on here. So if you guys want to peer pressure him into making an appearance, but his his door is always open here. He is one of the founding members of Theme Parkin. So
Jose and I hung out like 2 weeks ago out here. We went to Universal. Yes, we went to Universal, and I was trying hard to get him to move out here to California, but he didn't do it.
I would forever hold it against him if he moved from the great state of Florida to California. No, I'm just kidding. But but anyways,
I think it was all those
all-
zombies that got him.
well, you never know. You got to watch out for those things. But no, this is a great discussion. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to get my internet fixed for next time. I'm not glitching in and out the entire time and all that good stuff. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the panel. Everybody in the chat, you guys are awesome. We will see you guys next week. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of news that happens between then and there. So we will see you then. But have a great evening, and we will talk to all you later. Bye.
Peace.